Got it. Record for good measure. Okay, great. We'll get started. Well, thanks to all the students who have joined us here today. I think we're going to have just a great afternoon hearing about different careers and options in health, as well as how you can maximize your time while you're in school, learning those skills, which it is a skill, to market yourself, find a job, and really be successful after you graduate, because that's why you're here. So we'll get started. I'll introduce myself. My name is Katie Cannon. I'm the alumni program manager for the college, which means I get to meet and learn about all the amazing things alumni are doing across the country in health. And then we also have Raquel here, and Raquel, I'm going to have you introduce yourself.
Everyone, my name is Raquel and I use pronouns she, her, hers. I work for ASU now. I am a career and industry specialist at Career and Professional Development Services. You've probably been around giving a couple presentations, but I am also an ASU alum. I studied global health and psychology, and then am not currently working in that field, obviously. I taught English for a couple of years in France and then worked for the health department throughout COVID, and now I'm here. So really happy to share my little bit of a crazy career story.
That's awesome. And then we're so lucky, and we have we will have an additional panelist joining us soon, straight out of the hospital. But we're so lucky to have Brianna here. Wondered if you could introduce yourself.
Sure. Hello, everyone. My name is Bree. I work at the Dairy Council of Arizona. A little background on myself. I graduated with my Bachelor's of Science and to Arizona. I did my Master's and Dietetic Internship combined program in nutritional science. I ended up at the Dairy Council.
That's awesome. I think you just have such a unique job. So maybe you could tell us a little bit, we'll start there, a little bit about your job and how you ended up there.
Sure. So my position title is the Manager of Youth Wellness and Nutrition Education. So really I focus on youth. I focus on that younger generation, the Gen Z, which I believe most of you probably are. I'm also Gen Z. And then the Gen Alpha, so the little guys. I worked in a daycare from the time that I was 16. And so I taught, dance, gymnastics, and big influence on youth was very important to me. And really having connections and having a link, that's actually how I found my position. LinkedIn, Indeed. I was job hunting. I wasn't ready to go back, stay in Arizona. So Dairy Council popped up. I was like, oh, this is interesting. And I had a member of the Dairy Council actually speak to my internship class in the fall of 2021. So last fall, we had somebody from the Dairy Council talk to us about the Dairy Council, what they do. And, I had a little bit of knowledge of it. And so I was like, I'll give it a try. And I love it. So the Dairy Council is a part of the Arizona milk producers, and they are kind of the advertising and marketing branch for our dairy farmers here in Arizona. It's really about milk promotion, making sure that we know the health and nutritional aspects of milk. And then I and my counterpart, Lauren, focus more on the nutrition education aspect of it. So not just those marketing efforts, but also making sure that people are aware of, those nutritional benefits, things like that.
That's awesome. That's so cool. I just think that's such a unique job. And who would have thought? You mentioned LinkedIn. Raquel, I wonder if you could share just maybe like a few best practices for getting started on LinkedIn for these students.
Yeah, absolutely. So the very first thing is make sure you have a picture. It doesn't need to be a professional headshot. You don't need to pay someone to take a picture. But if you have a friend or if you have a tripod, we would recommend taking a picture from your shoulders up. So essentially what you can see on the screen right now. And if you have like a nice top or a button up or anything that looks like a professional top, you don't need to be wearing a blazer. But we would recommend to take it in front of a neutral background. So a white wall or a cream wall or brick, or even in the city. I personally love the outdoors headshots. If you're standing in front of a bush, that looks really, really nice. And so putting a picture on your LinkedIn is one of the #1 ways to get seen by recruiters, but also making sure that it's all filled out. So your experiences have information under them. Recruiters will Google or essentially search your LinkedIn account or search for accounts with these words. So the more information that you have on your LinkedIn, the better. That's kind of what we would call your catch-all resume. So every experience that you have, we would want to make sure that you're putting that on your LinkedIn, because not all of that would fit on a resume. So you want to make sure that that is your most filled out area.
That's awesome. That's great. And we all have a little something that we can put on there, regardless of how much actual work experience. It's a huge deal that you've started a degree program, so that can go on there. Awesome.
Yes, your education, any community involvement, if you're part of a church program or you volunteer, sports, you can put your sports leadership on there. Any certificates that you may have, all of that is great to go on your LinkedIn account.
Great. Awesome. Well, Christy has joined us, and student Dr. Christy, or are you doctor? I don't even know. This is so exciting. Straight out of the clinic has joined us here. From ear infections to panels. Christy, can you introduce yourself? Let us know what you studied and what you're doing now.
Sure. Sorry that my background and everything is, I ran home from clinic as quickly as I could, and there was traffic and everything, but I'm here. I'm Christy. I am a 4th year medical student at Liberty University's College of Osteopathic Medicine. So I'm a DO student. I did my bachelor's in medical studies at ASU College of Health Solutions, of course. And then I did my master's in the science of healthcare delivery, which is also a part of that college as well. So enjoyed everything that I had to do with ASU, tons, and absolutely loved it. And my journey was just tons of fun, and just getting involved in all sorts of different ways at the university itself, and then outside of it through different hobbies. I just really had fun getting involved in the things that I enjoyed, and that's what I always recommend, because throughout my interviews and everything that all my experiences, when people asked me to talk about it, I was able to express my passion for it. And everybody said, it's really obvious that you did what you loved. And I was like, okay, cool. That's exactly what I did. I didn't force myself to do anything that people said like looked good on applications and all that stuff. Like people told me, which no hate to people that scribe, but people told me that if I don't scribe, I won't get into med school. And I did it for a few days and I hated it. And I said, I don't want to do it. And I didn't do it, and I still got to med school. So just letting you guys know that do what you enjoy, do what you love, and get to the path you want to be at. That's what you do. So yeah.
That's great. Yeah, I was hoping you would tell the scribe story, because I think that's so relatable to so many people. And actually, I was talking to someone else and they were like, oh yeah, I know her. She didn't want to be a scribe. I heard her speak. But I wonder if you could talk a little bit more about that too. I mean, I know you were very involved on campus, took advantage of a lot of opportunities. But there were, of course, times when things didn't work out, when maybe grades didn't come back how you maybe wanted them, or experiences happened that maybe were a little out of your control. I wonder if you could talk a little bit about what it took for you to kind of move past those and then continue towards the goal of medical school.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I got involved at a lot of things in campus. I was in the Barrett Honors College, so I was like a Barrett Honors devil. I really took advantage of, so for anybody that's in Barrett, there's like the Barrett Honors Digest that was like really helpful. But then the CHS also had a CHS little digest thing too, which they still send out, I'm guessing.
Yeah, it's called the Pulse.
Okay. Yes, the Pulse, that's what it was called.
Yeah.
Yes. So they would always have those emails that they would send out. And so I would just search through them and just see what would catch my eye. And I joined a few things that like really just caught my eye, like the Ryan House. That was one opportunity through a club, and that was providing like palliative and respite care to children. And I just really just, it was an awesome experience to just get exposed to children that are just going through lifelong disabilities and just being there for them and just learning how to just interact with people that are going through things that are different than you in a really cool way. And then I also got involved in SHOW, which was Student Health Outreach for Wellness. And that was on campus as well. And I really enjoyed that because I was able to have like a long-term commitment. So I started off as just a general volunteer, then became a chair, and then became a director. And I think that really showed programs that I knew how to be committed to a program that, or to something that I was passionate about, that I started off as a general volunteer and just worked my way up. And so that was really important. And then, yeah, I also had things that like didn't work out, like OChem, and I sucked at OChem. And people said, if you have a bad grade in OChem, you can't go to med school. Also not true. I'm here to tell you that. The underdog story is real for med school. But yeah, I think there's a lot of, and even clubs, there's some clubs that I joined that just like, I thought it was going to be one thing and turned out to be another thing. Or I signed up for way too many things one year and I realized I need to stop like signing up for way too much just because I think that it's going to look good if I'm involved in tons of things, when I realize like, no, I also need to like be able to give like my healthy full effort into whatever I do, even if it's a few things. If I'm putting my full self into them, then that's what matters more than doing a bunch of things and feeling like that's what's good for me. So I think that's important. And then in terms of discouragement and dealing with like the setbacks in your journeys, I think just reminding yourself why you're doing what you're doing and discovering that if you haven't found that. Because for me personally, I don't think I found that until I had a lot of volunteer experiences, clinical experiences, and just getting to interact with patients, especially when I was at SHOW with working with individuals experiencing homelessness. When I like was working with them and I just started growing in my compassion for them, and I recognized just so many needs of theirs that I felt like I had the calling to help fulfill in their lives. And so that just like, I never thought that that was going to be end up being my passion. And going into that master's in science of healthcare delivery exposed me to the public health world. And I never even knew anything about that whole world of things. And now I can't imagine my career without public health. And so I just think it's important to just along the journey, find what makes you passionate, find what your calling is, and then just chase after that. So just find experiences that will further propel you towards that. So yeah.
Great. You make it sound so fun. All fun.
It is.
Love it. Brianna, I wonder if we could go back to you. So you survived the dietetic internship, and you have this cool position now. I wonder if you could talk a little bit about what drew you to nutrition, what kind of path you took to end up where you are, and were you always nutrition? How did that kind of go for you?
I was not. I actually went into college as a forensic science major. So I did like kind of a total 180 when it came to going into nutrition. It almost was a roll of the dice. Halfway through my first semester, I said, I don't like being in this class. I don't like looking at these blood spatters in the textbook. I don't like looking at the bullet wounds in the textbook. What can I do that, won't set me back? And so I actually started going through, my college had this kind of spreadsheet where you can plug in different majors and see what classes would count towards the major. And nutrition was one of those ones where I would still be on that kind of the same track. And so I said, okay, let me give that a shot. So I went and I talked to the program director, and I was like, this seems pretty interesting to me. My dad at the time, he was trying to lose some weight. So he was tracking his micronutrients, his macronutrients on that MyFitnessPal app. And I said, let me take a class next semester. And that was where I really fell in love with nutrition. I loved learning about food. I loved being in the food lab, in the kitchen, and cooking, and, looking at the different color that cabbage turns when you put it in an acid versus a base. Really strange, but awesome. And that's kind of where it stemmed from. So it really just stemmed from me playing around with the university's spreadsheet document. And after that, I went up to my junior or senior year, and it was time to look at internships. And I was like, I really liked doing this research project. I'm going to look at an internship that specializes in research because I think that's what I want to do. So ASU had a really great program that specialized in research. And, during my program, I just realized that research wasn't really for me. I did my thesis. I finished my thesis. I passed it. I had a really great advisor, but research just wasn't my thing. And I ended up in, at the Dairy Council. So I guess overall, what you think you might like, you might not actually like. And, you could take 100 different turns and different pathways to get you to where you are, but I feel like it's, for the best. So I wouldn't be here if I didn't choose to go to ASU for that research component, and it all kind of, that bowling ball effect.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think that's one of my favorite parts of being a part of a college campus community, is that the goal isn't necessarily to be perfect. The goal is to learn, to grow, to learn more about yourself and how you relate to other people. And I think that's really the experience that you're in college for. I think anyone could, Google or read textbooks, but it's about the connections, the mistakes, the starting over. And that's just something I really like too. I would last 4 seconds in a research kind of position. Okay. We have, first year students here. I wonder, and you both have kind of touched on this, but I wonder if you both could share, if you could say something to yourself as you were starting your college career, what would you say? What would you tell them to do more of, and what would you tell them to worry less about? Either one of you.
Well, for one thing, do more of, I would definitely find your resources and use them. They're there at your disposal. When I was a first year student, I don't think I used them to the fullest potential that I could have. And, the next year I did, and you could see it, you can reflecting in my grades and my understanding of concepts. And I think that's really what got me through. Like, college is no joke. It's hard. It's not that that's supposed to scare you, but it's post, education. It's for you to be educated. It's supposed to challenge you. And using those resources will really help you get through it and manage it better. And, time management is really a big concept that I would say is very important to be able to, not spread yourself too thin and take the time out of your day to plan. If you're a planner, go through and say, okay, I'll work on this for this long. I'll go, and then I'll enjoy myself at the end of the night. Or, maybe you're not productive in the morning and you can do stuff at night. Your campus is, has the resources to allow you to do that. So yeah, biggest advice would be to use those resources.
That's great. What about you, Christy?
Yeah, totally echoing.
Little
yes.
Christy.
Totally echoing what she had said as well, of just using your resources. Like, I wish my first year self asked for more help, because there was so much out there that I could have done, and so many people I could have asked. And I was like, oh, they have so many people. They probably are helping people that need help more than me. And instead, I should have just reached out. And when I did reach out, when I reached out to CHS advising, when I reached out to my professors, when I reached out to I can't remember the names of the terms, but the people that help with resumes and interviews and all those kind of things, I miss that now. Even I'm applying to residency right now, and I was like, I wish I had the advising committee of ASU so that they could look at my CV and they could help me. I did a mock interview with one of the people at the advising committee at CHS, and so I just absolutely love the resources that were there, and I wish I started using them from day one. So that is the first thing I definitely recommend. And then the other thing I would say is of doing less of is kind of what I've already mentioned, of just not doing what everybody else is doing just because they're doing it. Find your own path. That's like the beauty of ASU, I feel like, is that it's just like endless opportunities everywhere you look. So find what you actually want to do, make it your own path and make it one that you're proud of. So yeah.
So good. Yeah, I have a friend who just started school back, and I said, the biggest difference between a successful student and a not successful student isn't necessarily their academic aptitude. It's whether or not they're going to take advantage of resources. That's really what it comes down to. And luckily we have Raquel here, who is a resource from Career and Professional Development. Raquel, I wonder if you could talk a little bit about sort of what services that you feel like are underutilized in kind of your area, and what what are some kind of good entry level first year kind of things that these students could plug into.
Yeah, of course. So there's lots of resources at Current Professional Development Services. A big one that I would recommend is Resume Dropbox. That's great for first year students you can just drop your resume in there, and then 3 to 5 days, maybe a little bit more, depending on how many students are currently doing their resumes in there. But you get individualized feedback on your resume of how you can improve it. And then that's an easy way you can submit it as many times as you want. But you can also make an appointment with an advisor through Handshake. And so those career advisors can talk about anything from resumes to cover letters, and how to fill out your LinkedIn profile, and then even do those mock interviews with you as well. And once you do score that job, we can help out with salary negotiations. So that is another huge resource that I think students could use. But one other thing, as you start looking forward into the future of potential professional schools, there is free Princeton test prep for the GRE for all students. And then some of the specialized ones like the OAT or the DAT, those are offered at a reduced price for ASU students. So that can all be found on our website at career.asu.edu, and I'll put that in the chat.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's cool. Raquel's right on the downtown campus too. So you can always pop over there. They've got lots and lots of resources. Cool. Well, let's talk a little bit about both of your jobs today. Brianna, you get to do stuff with the Super Bowl. I wonder if you could talk a little bit about that. From cabbage leaves to professional athletes. I love it.
Yeah. So the Super Bowl is going to be held February 2023 in Arizona. So they have an Arizona Super Bowl host committee that has been working very closely with our nonprofit kind of partner or branch of Olive Dairy, National Dairy. And so we've been working very closely with them because we're here in Arizona, we're local. And the goal really is to get as much, milk and meals into schools that are high need. So sponsors are coming in and they are, sponsoring a month. And the money is going towards mobile snack grab and go carts, milk coolers, POS systems if needed in these schools. And it's going to 11 schools a month, so it's Super Bowl 57. So 57 schools in Arizona will receive these packages. So it's been a real pleasure to be working with them, and especially this is my first year with the Dairy Council. So to be able to have that connection right off the bat is really cool. It's really awesome.
Yeah, it's great. I love the way too it's helping kids in vulnerable places, and combined with football, which is so cool. I think a lot of students and people are interested in sports, and definitely the Super Bowl.
Absolutely.
So cool. And Christy, tell us what you're doing, which is also very exciting.
Yeah, I am currently a fourth year medical student. So this year I just get to rotate basically all over the country at different hospitals and different clinics and health systems to just discover what my passions are in the field of medicine. I'm hoping to be involved in just being in the primary care field and addressing social determinants of health that affect vulnerable populations. And I'm really hoping to be able to go to a program that really emphasizes that emphasizes advocacy. There's just so many programs out there nowadays that are just even going to Capitol Hill and just saying like, these are the policies that are going to change the health of populations at large, especially the ones that are currently underserved. So I want to make a difference in that way. And I'm excited to do that in residency soon. So just applied and looking forward to interviews in the next few months.
So exciting. I wonder if you could talk about that a little bit more. What kind of things do you feel like, what kind of things or experiences do you feel like have prepared you to work with various cultures, populations, people different from you? What kind of things do you think would be helpful for people working with different populations? Those social determinants of health hit every aspect of health in the healthcare industry. And so I think that's pretty applicable to wherever people may end up.
Yeah, totally. SHOW, this Student Health Outreach for Wellness, was the first way that I really got exposed to the social determinants of health. I actually did my Barrett honors thesis on it and was just super excited about discovering all the ways that healthcare could just go beyond just basic medical care as we used to see it, and just actually realizing that there are so many different aspects to health and wellness, including social needs, emotional needs, mental needs. So I think that was the first exposure I had to it. And then also just things on the outside world beyond medicine. For example, my parents were involved in a ministry among refugees from Nepal in Phoenix. And that was just a cool way for me to just be exposed to another culture, to just invest in families and communities in that way. And like, I didn't like do anything much. I just talked to them and just hung out with them. It's like, I think sometimes people overthink like, oh, I need to like do this incredible thing where I give clothes to everybody in the city. And like that's great. Totally go for it if that's what you want to do. But also just like, just bringing it down to the individual level of just saying like, hey, I'm just going to talk to people that are different than me and just be intentional about the places that I go, especially in downtown Phoenix. Like there is such a vast population there itself. So even if you're living there, maybe just being intentional about the places that you go to just interact with people that are different than you. Maybe, yeah, just find your way to invest in the community around you, in people that look different than you. I think that just conversation itself just kind of transforms your mind to realizing that. And then I can't promote this enough, but I loved my master's program, the Master's of Science of Healthcare Delivery. That's not for anybody going to medical school. That's just for anybody in general, just interested in how the healthcare system needs to change to better address the issues of populations in need. And we got to hear all about like different global or like healthcare systems all around the world, and just learned about how the changes that need to be made to really address the social determinants of health. And so I absolutely love that master's and promoted in CHS. I can say that.
That's great. Yeah, that program consistently sees people go on to do really amazing things. And the faculty, I mean, obviously, I love all faculty the same, but that group of faculty are so committed and experienced. I think that's important too. Brianna, looking at you, I wonder if you could share maybe some things. You know, you've been in schools with working with different groups of people, and I wonder if there's anything that surprised you going from being a student yourself to then working with like real people outside of a textbook, and what that was like for you.
Yeah, actually I have a lot of different experience working with schools, you know, just across Arizona in general because of my position, but I've also worked with a variety of different populations in my internship as well. So I feel like each group of people that you work with, you have to be able to relate to them on some level or connect with them. And really it's about listening. And I think that's, what they teach you in school too. Like throughout my years in college, we had this counseling course that you can take. And it really was about being able to repeat back what people are saying to you so you have a good understanding of what they're saying. And I mean, really, that's the biggest thing, is just being able to understand. And even if, somebody says something that you may not believe yourself, or maybe they have a different tradition than you, like that, that diversity, that inclusion, that being able to still relate to the person past differences is really important. As for, every school is different. As for the schools in Arizona, every pocket of every district has different, groups of people. So really it's about knowing the needs, knowing the wants, and the uses of, for instance, equipment that they need is really important in my role.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's cool. And it's interesting that Arizona even has, diversity school to school, but I think that's true no matter, what kind of part of the healthcare system we're a part of. We're dealing with people, and people are different, and people have different wants and needs and likes. And I think sometimes that can be, I don't think anyone goes into a career in health thinking that they're not going to treat people as people. But I think you can get caught up in the science of it all, and wanting to treat a problem. And then we really have people in front of us. I think that's another really important part of getting involved on campus, right? Is developing those social skills, those networking skills as well. Question kind of for both of you for your respective fields. I love asking people this question. This might be selfish for me, but I think these answers are so interesting. If you look at where your field is now, where do you kind of see it going in the next 5 years? What needs do you see it filling? What things do you hope might change in the next, 5 to 10 years? Either one of you can go first.
Oh, I could go really
Yeah,
quick.
you go.
Cool.
Sure. I was just going to say, I think the role of being a doctor will be expanded, hopefully. I think in the past, things like social determinants of health and like a patient going through housing issues, I think in the past, people would say, oh, that's just the job of social work, which social work is super important as well. But I think realizing that it is a team effort, and realizing that a housing problem is also a medical problem, and so is a mental health problem, and so is a food insecurity problem. Like, all of them are included in a medical problem. And I hope that our field will not just have 1 or 2 programs here and there that are super passionate about health equity and justice and advocacy, but that all programs, that would just be a normal part of becoming a doctor. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we were talking with a nutritionist and RD turned PA. She spoke on our last panel, and that's something when we've had conversations, she's talked a lot about how her nutrition background really has now informed her experience with patients, and she's hoping that more people can incorporate that as well, because you really can't separate it. It's true. Brianna, what about you? Where do you kind of see this public nutrition field going?
Yeah, so I think there's a lot of misconceptions about dairy right now. And I think the ultimate goal is to just be able to address all of those concerns and misconceptions, and really make sure that people, whether they be parents or students or, children, are informed and well informed about dairy and the different roles that it plays in the body. That's really what I'm here for. And it just being able to really keep everybody in the loop of what's going on and how things change and new research that comes out. That's really the end goal, or ongoing goal, I should say. There is no end goal because research is always changing. So
Sure. It's true. It's true. It is. And that's sort of the exciting and dynamic part of science and health science and learning more about people, is that the more we know, the better health we can provide to people. Raquel, I wonder for you, you might be able to talk a little bit about too, where you kind of see career trends going, and what kind of skills do you think maybe these students are going to need as they graduate career-wise? I'm talking like resumes, LinkedIn, and that. Do you see those things changing, or are things staying pretty the same? I'm curious, especially kind of in a post-COVID world, what things are looking like hiring-wise.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I can project 5 years from now, but
It's being recorded, but we won't hold you to it.
So right now, the top 8 skills that employers are looking for are career and self-development. So being able to look at opportunities and realize it as an opportunity to learn and to grow and to develop. Communication, critical thinking, equity and inclusion, leadership, professionalism, teamwork, and technology. So those are the top 8 skills that all across industries, whether you choose to stick in health or go anywhere else, those are the top 8 skills that all employers are looking for. And I kind of see that to be a little bit constant. One thing right now, though, is that we are in a candidate market, and that will be interesting of whether that changes or not. But that means that candidates, so people who are looking for jobs, have more power than ever to really bargain for and bargain with employers of what they deserve. So I think like working environments will definitely change. I think that we've seen now with COVID, more people work from home than ever. Even like telehealth, you can see, I have a friend who's a nurse, and she's like, I work from home. And I'm like, how, as a nurse, how do you do that? So I think now more than ever, people will have just the mentality to be able to argue for what they want. So whether that's more time off or more pension percentage. And so all of that is definitely important to think about as you're thinking about career, to see if it aligns with your own values and morals. And so if you are a family person who wants to spend more time with your family, just think about that as you go forward looking at different careers, because while you'll be able to bargain that, I don't know how much you'll be able to bargain when you're a doctor and they actually need you in the hospital. And so thinking about your morals and your values is definitely really, really, really important as you go forward with your career. And that doesn't mean you can't change. You can always change your career and reevaluate along the process. But it's definitely something that should inform the process all throughout.
That's great. That's great. I love that you use the word values, and I think regardless of what career we have, we are also at the end of the day people, and not just workhorses. So Christy and Brianna, I wonder if you each could talk about like how you found time for like fun and like a life when you were in school and now. I guess Christy, you're still in school, but you know what I mean. When you were first starting out and now, what are some things that have worked for you to kind of hold on to that sanity?
Do you want to go first, Christy, or do you want me to go? Okay. So like I said before, time management is a huge factor in that. And I think really, you could, depending on how you divide it up, you can just say XYZ days, I'm only going to be working on schoolwork, on homework, and then XYZ days I'll go out and have fun with my friends, or we'll go, hiking, or, whatever you like to do for fun. Or you could divide it up as breaks throughout the day. I'm going to do this in the morning. I'm going to go get lunch with my friend. I'm going to go back and do some more work, depending on how you can, how your brain works, how you work. I think is how you can tailor it. I don't think there's one correct way to be able to do that. And that, one size does not fit all in this case. I was very much a night owl. So I was up and would go to gymnastics, and then I'd come back and I'd hang out with my roommates, and that was kind of my downtime. And then during the day, in between classes, that's when I'd focus on my work, and I'd have a good mindset because, I was in the zone at that time. If I was trying to do work at 10 o'clock at night, it wouldn't work for me.
Totally. Yeah. Knowing yourself. Absolutely. What about you, Christy? Do you ever have
Yeah. Definitely time management was a huge part of it. I think I kind of did a similar thing of throughout the day, like I would keep certain hours where like from this time to this time, I'm going to be super motivated, take a break in between here. And then from this time to this time, I'll be super motivated. And if I was able to accomplish those goals, like then I was done. And if I wasn't, like knowing where I was at, to know when I did need rest, especially like this, like if you're going on to graduate school, especially like for me in medical school, like it was crucial that I learned when my body, when my mind needed rest, because there's always something more you can do. And it's a great attitude to have of like being motivated and wanting to push forward. But I think it's also important in college, especially, I think it's the best time to figure out where it's necessary to push and where it's necessary to stop and rest. And I think that takes practice. I think that takes trial and error, and that's okay if you mess it up sometimes. Give yourself grace in the process. But I think that's just so important to just make like goals for yourself and be as like motivated as you can to accomplish them, and then know like where you need your rest and where you need a break, and know who those people are that you're going to go to truly get that rest, whoever that community is for you, to help yourself refresh and bring yourself back up to charge.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, having good people and good friends around you, super important. Super important. Helps you keep your humanity, keeps us all sane. Well, great. Well, we want to give those of you joining us an opportunity to ask questions. So just want to remind you, you can drop those in the chat, and we will get to those. But I have a question for, I guess, Brenna, we can start with you. Tell me something really fun about your job. What's your favorite thing that you get to do?
I have a lot of favorite things that I get to do. I think my job is really awesome. But oh gosh, a favorite. I'm a big football fan. And so we have a partnership with the Arizona Cardinals. So I'm in contact with them a lot. And I think that's really cool with different events and opportunities we can bring to schools, and being able to see, just the joy on the kids' faces when they see Big Red or some cheerleaders is a really cool opportunity. I also love sponsoring events. When we sponsor an event and we have a table and we have all these little giveaways, and people can come up and they do trivia, and they're like, I didn't know, that I didn't know that. And, then you're like, well, you learned something new today. So being that person that, can inform people of new things every single day is a pretty cool part of my job, I'd say.
Yeah, that's awesome. People get to, that's what we want, right? People to learn more about how to take control of their own health, and you get to do it in a fun way with like a lot of cows around. Visiting dairies is also one of my favorite things to do. I went and I actually fed a baby cow the day that it was born, and it just so cute. Oh my gosh. Yeah. That's awesome. There's so many different aspects of my job. And that's why I really like it. Every day is something different. I'm never going into the office and seeing the same thing every day. I'm going in and they're like, oh, we're going to go do this. We're going to go do that. We're going on a tour. I went and saw a cotton, farm, and it was just, everything is so different and it's just awesome. That's great. Yeah. I need variety in my days. Otherwise, get a little bored. Christy, what about you? What do you like about what you're doing?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm still a student, so I get a little fun of not being responsible for people yet, but still getting to enjoy them. So I'm really enjoying just getting to make relationships with patients and getting to just hear about their stories, getting to play with the children as I'm checking their ears and checking their like eyes and stuff and doing funny jokes with them, making fart noises while I check their like range of motion in their legs, all the silly stuff. It's just been a lot of fun to just get to interact with people, getting to hear their stories. I just absolutely love getting to do what I do. And there's also tons of variety with it too. Like I got to, well, because it was COVID times, I had to do this virtually, but I got to talk to some House of Representatives members and senators about different health policies that affected vulnerable populations, and getting to do that through just all the sorts of national organizations I thought was incredible. And I was like, oh, I get to do this as part of my job and career too. Cool. So yeah, I'm just excited that I not only get to see patients, but get to do things on like a higher level in policy as well as a doctor. So
Absolutely. Yeah. Advocate on behalf of your patients. How cool is that? I mean, that's just a different level of care. Great.
totally.
Well, with that, we have some updates to share about upcoming things, but do you guys have anything else? Raquel, Brianna, Christy, anything else that you wish you would have said, or any sort of last parting thoughts for our first year students surviving biology?
I would just say like be open-minded. I think a lot of people go in to college thinking they're going to do one thing, and I think Brianna's story is an awesome example of this. And there's so many other stories I've heard, and even myself, I thought I was going to be a doctor, and then in college actually changed my mind, but then came back to it later on. But I think just that ability to be open-minded and say, hey, like this is my current plan, but also I'm going to talk to different professors, I'm going to talk to different professionals, I'm going to talk to advising, and I'm just going to figure out what I enjoy, and we'll see how things end up. Because I think I didn't know what all the career opportunities that were out there in my freshman year of college, and I didn't figure out what I loved till much later. So I think just be open-minded and see what's out there for you and chase after that.
Great.
Yeah, definitely. Going off of that, just being flexible. You're not going to get it right every single time. You're probably not going to get an A every single time, and if that happens, like it's okay, find the resources, talk to your professors. They want to see you succeed. It shouldn't be scary. It's an opportunity for you to really go out there and figure out what you want to do, figure out who you want to be, and how you want to, contribute to society.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm surprised faculty didn't come up that, but absolutely. They, as much as I thought it would, they absolutely want to help you. These hours go by so fast. I could just talk about this forever. Raquel, what about you? Final last thought. Bring us home.
I would just recommend talking with a career advisor. Honestly, they have so many resources, especially here at downtown. Mary also used to work for the health department as our career advisor here. But my own personal selfish plug, I have been able to start a podcast with ASU through my work, and we talk about a lot of these things, like what does it mean to be a first-gen student? What does it mean to do some career exploration? And so we're speaking with alumni and other students. We're talking about SMART goals. We're talking about resumes. So it is called Fireworks, and it's kind of just quick little episodes. And so I definitely would recommend checking that out and listening to anything that might pique your interest.
That's awesome. Yeah, that sounds really cool. It's never too early. So here we will update you all on I have like a million screens and I'm not in my normal setup. And so I'm like, where's my screen? But okay, so this is part of that 3-part series of your CHS 101 class. So just a reminder that on the 13th is that networking and career development event. So make sure that you have that on your calendar as well. You can scan that QR code and it's going to take you to more information on that. And then don't forget that there is an assignment tied to this that your CHS 101 facilitator has more information on. Otherwise, so thankful. Let's make sure we got we got fireworks. Cool. No other questions, but with that, I think we can wrap up here. I'm so thankful for the three of you for joining us today, for sharing your information, and really looking forward to hearing even more updates on what you're all up to. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks so much for having us.
Yeah, thanks guys, and we will we'll see you. I'll be in touch. Cool. Thank you.